Good afternoon. It's 4:45 on a beautiful April 24th. We are in the high school library. We are joined by Kristen and Joe and Jeff, Matt Mosaic, and then our new facilities guy, and then Mosaic, and then Mosaic. Kristen is spelled with a K, Jeff spelled with a J, and Matt is spelled with an N. We are also joined by Jeff Benzio, and he is of the Voorheesville Elementary School. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. The evacuation procedures, there is a window there, but it appears to be a challenge to get out of the courtyard, so I go for the door. Rob will be joining us shortly, and RG is joining us virtually. With that, we're going to move to item 2, which is the discussion of the capital project, which will be a group discussion, but presented in large part by not me.
Okay, so you already did our introductions kind of, so we have Mosaic, our architects here. Joe Mayo is our director of interim facilities. Jeff West, Lisa, and Jeff Avenzio, board members all have name tags, so easy for everybody. Purpose of the meeting today is to discuss the budget vote that we had for the remaining budget that we have from the voter approved capital project that can be allocated for the elementary school. So the elementary school, when we developed the construction project that would be there, we met with staff, we developed over a period of time. Kirsten, that was before you, so how long ago was that?
It's 2020, I think, was when we first started this conversation.
We started conversations with the elementary staff and the development of what the overall scope and bid of the project would be. So when we first went out with the base bid vote for everything, that was everything and all the discussions that were there, everything went out for bid. As you know, that bid came back, and when that bid came back, it was high. So then we met with the director, with our facilities committee. So I believe Kathy, Rob, and Robin were there, and our architects were there with Jeff West and Joe Mayo and Lisa Gillette, and they gave us alternate suggestions they would bundle together to go back out for a bid. And then that's what we did, and that's where we're here to be able to discuss what that bid came back as and where we are with that final project. Did I miss anything with that?
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah.
So the alternates that were discussed, we'll talk about in a little bit. They were bid suggestions from our architects and construction managers based off of the best knowledge of what we could bundle together. And then we all had a discussion about that at the time. So then that's when we went up for our second bid and went forward. So let's talk about base bid review. So what actually did go out for the bid and what was that? So Kirsten's got that. Any questions so far?
Hand out.
Yes, will these materials be posted to the website for the agenda?
If you would like them, sure.
Absolutely.
Kristen, can I have PDFs of these?
I believe those are similar. I don't think there are any changes from what I sent you this morning.
Okay.
So I believe those are consistent. I have 2 here.
Jeff, there's an extra.
Thank you so much. Wait, there are only 10, so.
There are, you should have 15 copies, which you have enough. Everybody should be able to have one.
Oh, sorry. Trying.
So these sketches here are an attempt to graphically describe the scope of the project. The first page is the overall site plan for the elementary school. And the area that's shaded in green describes general areas under the base bid that were part of the site contract for this project. Include modifications immediately around the existing transportation facility, which is being converted into an elementary school cafeteria. That's on the upper portion of this plan here. Includes some work around the back of the elementary school where there are some drainage concerns. There's a gravel parking lot, which would be addressed as part of this project. And then also addresses some existing underground pipes that go underneath the athletic fields and playground areas, which have been reported to be problematic on heavy rain events. So those portions are base bid. There's also a little bit of work that is included in the parking lot on the north side of Lye Creek. Those are all part of the base bid work for the site package at the elementary school.
So this is all outside work.
This is all outside site work. So if we go to the second page.
Any questions on that before we move on to the second page?
The green that's here,
Yes,
front of the property, was talking in there?
That is a drain. So there's two
Okay.
drains that we always have sinkhole issues on. That
Okay.
come out of, those are the two main issues that really need to be addressed. So that one on the far side and that one on the other side, those come down, and then there's other drains that will go down into it, so that way we don't get the muddy area that's back in there. That was based in it.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's just draining from the other side of the fields.
Correct. Right. And that's one that we've done like Band-Aids on over the years
Okay.
to be able to try to fix.
And those fields are tiled. That's the tiling in there.
are the fields tiled?
Yeah, is there drainage?
The drainage tiles, that's. So, I'm sorry,
You
on
mean
the,
these?
This field, the outside field.
there is some existing structures out there, however, we'll talk about that a little bit further when we talk about alternates.
Excellent.
Those are currently there, the ones that you see in there, that's in, with the V kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Those are currently still there.
Cool.
Any other questions on outside? Inside the building, on the first floor, page 2. This portion down here would be the conversion of the existing bus transportation facility, maintenance facility, to become new cafeteria and kitchen, as well as conversion of the existing cafeteria and kitchen to become new classroom spaces, music classroom spaces, as well as administrative offices, new main entrance for the building, and conversion of other spaces to become also art and music support spaces. This also shows work in the corridors as part of the base bid, and reconstruction of this one stair tower on the left-hand side. These blue spaces are really work that's associated with part of the new water service for the elementary school. So this is, all the parts that are in color here are part of the base bid for this project, which was bid last Thursday.
So the existing main entrance will stay aesthetically like it is, it just won't be used? It'll be
Yes,
like an
that was always the
emergency exit.
plan,
Right,
yeah.
I knew, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make.
And it will be reconstructed to address the deterioration which has happened in the past as part of this. And that reconstruction happened from the ground floor all the way up to the third floor as part of the base bid. So we'll see that.
The only entrance that's getting a makeover is the new entrance.
Right.
We turn the page. This is the second floor plan. And the scope of work that is in base bid is reduced to reconstruction of the existing main office suites to provide new functional spaces there, as well as reconstruction of the stair tower, and in green on the left-hand side, a couple classrooms there, some HVAC improvements and associated work there that affects casework and how that.
And also air conditioning.
Yes, part of the HVAC and the air conditioning, and then casework for the new functions in those spaces. The blue in the lower left-hand corner, that would be upgrades to the electrical service or electric facilities in that facilities, in the faculty office.
To clarify, those two classrooms that you're seeing in green on the right-hand side, they mentioned next to the faculty room, those are currently music rooms. The music rooms go down to the area, and then those two rooms now become classrooms. So that's where we're increasing.
What is the small green square next to the makerspace?
That is a door modification associated with work in the makerspace. Are you referring to this little tiny one down
Yeah,
here?
the makerspace between the, library makerspace border wall.
This little tiny space down
Yeah,
here?
Yep,
That is a shaft providing HVAC ventilation support for work that's happening on the first floor. In order for the work on the first floor to be done, we have to provide HVAC support for that. So we had to provide a shaft from the first floor all the way up to the roof. So you'll see that work is also included on the third floor.
thank you.
And the other two things, just so you know, next to the stairs, over there, if you see the little rings on the doors, that's replaced the 3 doors that are there because they're like safety hazards, kids like knock into them,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that came up when we talked to the staff about it. They're really
They
bad.
walk this.
So it's to actually make them 2 doors. So
Yeah.
create a little bit more safe environment there.
I'm just curious, the first grade classrooms that are where the music rooms were, I mean, there's language arts classrooms with bathrooms in them next to the other first grade classrooms on first floor. So is there a reason that the music classrooms would have first grade classrooms instead of language arts classrooms and first grade
There's,
classrooms?
I don't understand the charts.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It says language arts, the
The
downstairs,
kindergarten.
yeah, next to the kindergarten, between kindergarten and first grade.
Those are inaccurate.
Yeah.
And I'll say that for the labels on these rooms here are based on conversations with SCD for aid and those purposes, how they actually get used on a day-to-day basis. That's really a
So
program.
those are classrooms.
Those are all kindergarten, first grade classrooms.
Right, so that's why I was, and then. these-
And, well, there's bathrooms right across from it. So the bathrooms are, so here's these 2 rooms right here, there's bathrooms right here. Correct, on this section?
Correct. They would not be in the classroom like the other kindergarten, first grade classrooms. They would be down the hall.
Okay, so there will be first grade classrooms that will be separate from the other first grade
They
classrooms?
will be. Yep. And that's, but there's 2 together. Right now, there's 1
Uh-huh.
separated from the
Yeah.
entire grade level up on the second floor. And there's also 2 fourth grade teachers that are on the second floor, not on the third floor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, trying to make all the space work.
Yeah, okay, I just was curious.
Sorry, the look at language arts, like, that's a high.
The language arts
It says
is gonna be what?
What else call it?
No, so on here, it says language arts and that's inaccurate. Those are kindergarten, and first grade rooms. But the entire first floor is kindergarten, first grade rooms. I think this was an original depiction of,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I think that has BOCES down there too, which
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so, yeah, you can't go by what the.
we're not proposing any programmatic changes in those spaces. Those are labels that went to SCD. and
Yeah.
It's not.
Any other questions
so
on
this
this
first
board?
grade classroom.
Third floor?
So the last sheet here, third floor, you'll notice that the entire third floor just about is highlighted in green. That is because air conditioning is being provided to all the classrooms on the third floor as part of the base bid. No more continental divide. This does include some ceiling modifications to address, provide the infrastructure for the HVAC. However, base bid did not include entire reconstruction of all the ceilings here. When we talk about alternates, we'll talk about a little bit further on that.
Question was in the base bid. So that's everything that was in the base. That's what you have to award when you award the base bid. It's all of those things. You can't change it. You can't modify it. That's what went out. That's what they bid on. That's the only, we don't have the ability to change that.
Right, that has been bid on by the contractors last Thursday, and that's what we'll be talking about as we move forward. Now, there are many parts of the project that were talked about. In addition to that, we'd hope to be able to do everything all at once, but budget constraints came into play, so as part of the bid process, we bid alternates to allow the district to make selections of what might be possible to do, should budgets allow. We had several different conversations about potential alternates. There were some pieces that were said, no, this cannot be an alternate. We must bid as much as we can.
Such as the air conditioning was one thing that we talked about at facilities committee. It's like, no, we said we would be putting that in. That's a heat issue that's been there. That's a non-negotiable. It has to be done. So that's why that was part of the base bid. And we talked about that at facilities committee.
Right. So if it's okay, we could move on to conversation about alternates?
Yep, alternates. Yep. Is there any question of why we bid at alternates? Does
Sure.
everybody kind of understand that?
Might as well get my steps in here. I think your help with that.
No problem. Everybody kind of clear on what's in the base bid? Which is still a lot. One thing I want to note is we tried to bite off a lot with this project. And, because the district has not done work at that elementary school at all. Kathy, any idea?
No, I mean, it's even in past bond issues, it was like Band-Aids and stuff.
Right.
Never.
Right.
They did the drainage by the small gym because that was flooding. the right-
But not a lot of work. So we tried to tackle
Thank
with this one, the bigger issues that we absolutely can, and there's things that we'd love to do, and I know we want to do more. We have to plan accordingly to that, but I don't think, unfortunately, it's money. Doesn't go as long as you think it would actually go.
And Frank, before we move on to the, the add-ons or the incidentals, not incidentals, sorry, wrong term. On the third alternates, on the third floor, just to note that they are redoing 2 of those rooms to make them classrooms.
Thank
The old science lab space and the current art room space are being redone to be classrooms. So one for 4th grade, one for 5th grade, so that we can have all of 4th grade and 5th grade on the same floor. That was part of the base bid, right? Yeah.
That downstairs.
Downstairs,
Okay.
on
So
the
you have
first
a whole
floor.
And it'll get
floor.
storage.
So
and stuff.
And they will get storage with it, right? Almost have like
And
an
the room
arch,
is
Space.
very,
like an arch, wing, so to speak, with music and PE. Only library will not.
Sessions.
okay. Good for alternates now? All right.
Okay. So the,
Well, I think I think we're gonna change this just a little bit based off of our conversation. So today, really, what time was it today, Lisa, when we finalized all this for budget?
About 11:30.
Yeah, 11:30. We came to the harsh realization that we're not gonna be able to offer any alternates. Like the money that we have left, and we're gonna talk about it, is the money that we have left will only cover the base bid. And that is something that we're gonna discuss in a minute and talk about, but I wanna be very clear is if the money that we have left from the voter approved project and everything else that's there, including incidentals, and we'll discuss that, it really will only cover base bid. So, these alternates are nice, but I do wanna kind of preface that as we're doing, I don't want anyone to get their hopes up because our budget, which we'll share with you, is not where we want it to be for that.
Because that was gonna be my question is, are we within budget for the base bid?
We, very young. So yes, yeah.
So, did we get another general contractor
We
bid?
did.
We did.
Yes, so we're gonna go over all that. We can go over the alternates if you want and show you what was originally in and what's taken out, so that way, I would rather do that for the video so people can see it too.
Okay.
So what those hard decisions had to be made. And unfortunately, we thought we would, when I said we have to have a conversation about making harder decisions, we thought we would be able to offer alternates. As of 10 o'clock, I walked in the meeting saying, we're gonna be able to offer alternates, and then Lisa hit me with, no, we're not.
Yeah,
I kind of got,
Debbie Downer.
yeah, it was.
what changed?
There. Incidentals, costs, yeah, it's,
Costs,
we'll go
the
over
base
that.
bid costs.
Contingency issues, like, cause you gotta carry it over. This is an old building. Work hasn't been done on it. You're gonna open up and you're gonna find issues there that you never thought you were gonna find.
So are we holding back more than is in the bid? Is that?
We're actually. And it's also really how much they bid out, right? So, the general contractors, everything else, their bids came in high.
Yeah.
So if, we estimated 10.5 and it comes at 11.5, I'm just using numbers. We have no control over that, right?
Right.
That's what they choose, and depending on how much work they have, or how much work they don't have, they're gonna make up their numbers.
What did it come in as?
That all in a minute. Yeah, we're gonna, that's what I'm saying, like, I was gonna get there, but I wanted to kind of preface it first saying, I don't want you to get your hopes up when you look at these alternates. Yeah, it is a teaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, but I have some ideas. Go ahead, Kristen.
So on the site plan, the area on the upper right here in blue, those were enhancements to the main parking lot as one drives in from the highway, widening the entrance from the highway, widening some areas in the parking lot, larger, easier traffic patterns perhaps, repaving. We also.
I just want to clarify, not doing that doesn't change the functioning of the.
Existing parking
Like
lot.
Jeff went out, he checked it with Rob McClung, they can still get the buses in, they can still utilize it, so it doesn't change the functioning of that area. It just is, it doesn't beautify it, it doesn't extend it, it doesn't create the walkway, the new sidewalk, and so it doesn't do those other things, but it doesn't change the functionality.
Doesn't change our ability to use that parking lot for parent,
No.
staff, parking, whatever it was, we were. shifting.
Yeah, it does not change that. And even though we're not doing any work on there, I do have a plan to be able to reline it and do some other.
So we can
things.
still do,
There's still things that we can do. It's just that we have our capital project budget that we have to utilize, but then we have to be creative otherwise. So I'll explain
We'll
that.
we'll talk about that a little further, yeah. The yellow was enhancements to the athletic fields, redoing the drainage for those athletic fields. There's existing there, this would have, upgraded them, so.
The bigger issue are those two. And that one that goes to the side there, on this side, the left-hand side, going towards that fence, that gets really muddy. So that is getting taken care of in the base bid. The rest of it, we wanted to take care of, but we're just not gonna be able to get it done. And we have an example of the bid that came in, but. Next one.
Next page, first floor, the area in red, the upper right-hand corner there. First floor, 1960s wing. The intention was to replace casework and sinks and address the flooring underneath the casework. This was not addressing the flooring in the entire room. It was just the casework, the flooring underneath the casework. So
So it's just, so
Counters.
there's a sink counter.
counters.
Yeah, there's a sink counter area in every single one of the classrooms. It's 1960s, they function, they work, they're getting a little dilapidated, right? Let's be honest. Again, they haven't done work in the building in a very long time. Asbestos, all those floors, they're all done. So the goal was to do a part of it and then go back later on and do all of it. With the alternate is, that's, since we can't do just the casework there, what we would want to think about is when we go out to another project, doing work inside here, saying, let's do the casework and the asbestos floors all at the same time, so you're not piecemealing it.
Yeah, so we have a project for them.
There's gonna be a lot of projects.
The next page is the second floor. And, hard choices being made. On the lower right-hand corner there, the L-shaped orange piece there were upgrades to the library. Modifying the library, creating a new maker space within that library, new finishes in the library. That was an alternate for this project.
The library's functioning, still works, so doesn't change anything, that library's been there. The makerspace area is actually the nurse's office. Now what that actually does do is create an office space that can be utilized for other things, but we didn't have tech space down there or anything like that. So that room now, since we're not doing anything, that old nurse's office now can become an office space or a small group instructional space. So it still can be utilized, it's just gonna have to be, we have to pivot the thought process of how we utilize it.
Wasn't there a tiny office?
Yes.
It's still there.
It's still there, that will stay there.
Okay.
Everything in the library stays as in the library.
Okay.
Right. Again, not taking away functionality. Everything you saw in the base bid was something that either impacted environment, safety, classroom instruction, like it changed, all of those other elements. These were the extra things that would have been really nice, but unfortunately,
The CD player.
right.
Money only goes so far. In pink is room 205. There was a hope that we might be able to upgrade casework or counters, some of the infrastructure, electrical, some plumbing infrastructure in that room, but that was bid as an alternate, so that will not be accepted at this time.
Since we
What
were-
is that room? Jeff?
It's
It's
currently,
room 205, like a multi-purpose room. Currently it's being used as a fourth grade classroom.
what we wanted to do was take the science room that we're moving from the third floor and create a multi-purpose instructional space that can be utilized for multiple things, especially science or demonstrations or anything like that. So we wanted to create that room to be able to future plan down the road. So.
So it'll remain a fourth grade classroom?
For next year. And
After that.
after that, right, once all the construction is done, the fourth and fifth grade will all be up on the second floor, so that could be, either an AIS room, academic intervention service, ENL, and or, an additional instructional space.
Second floor or third?
Second floor.
The
Fourth and
existing
fifth will be on the
205.
third floor.
Yeah, fourth and
Space.
fifth will go up.
Talking about that little
Yeah.
space on the second floor.
So as soon as you come in the main entrance, up the first set of stairs and take a right, that very first room.
Yeah.
I
That
think
used to be the pickup room.
it used to be the pickup room and kids club, correct?
Yes. There's all sorts of.
Any questions on this one?
Then in green was just the floor finishes and, wall finishes in the corridor.
We wanted to beautify the whole hallways. With the, you're doing work on the first floor, you want everybody to kind of feel it as you're moving through the building, so that's the reason.
And then on the third floor, again, we've got the green in the corridor, that would have again been, flooring and wall finishes. In purple, we would have also done lockers on the third floor to replace the existing lockers. And then this would be the entire ceiling replacement. As I said, in the base bid, we do have the air conditioning on the third floor included in all the rooms, some ceiling modifications, but this would have included replacement of all the ceilings on the third floor with new ceiling assemblies. So that was also bid as an alternate.
And is the updated ceilings, but do they still look like this? Is there?
Generally speaking, yes.
They look nicer than this,
Or
but
like
they're still the
Nothing
same.
much has changed.
Yeah, no, they're still the same. The lockers, just so you all know, Jeff and I talked about this, is there's 100, how many, Jeff, you want to explain?
Yeah, so we currently have 168 lockers on the third floor. With the addition of 2 more classrooms, we're already sharing lockers on the third floor. With the addition of 2 more classrooms, we'd have to share more. So the original thought was if we could change the locker structure, having double lockers, it would double the capacity so that we could have enough lockers for everyone. You know, the year after, when all the work is done, we're estimated to have about 199 students, and again, there's 168, so there's an addition of 30-some lockers that we won't have access to. We currently have 2 fourth grade rooms on the second floor that have removable cubbies that are in the classroom already, which will give us about 30 to 32 of those spaces if we add them to the rooms on the third floor. So we'll be short closer to maybe 5 or 10.
Wait, 2 fourth grade rooms.
So the 2 fourth grade rooms on the second floor right now, this is room 205, and then the room across from the main office. One will go up to the old science lab, one will go to the current art room. They don't have lockers. In the 2 rooms that they currently house fourth grade right now on the second floor, they have not built, I don't want to say built in, they have cubbies that we purchased and rebuilt all the cubbies on the first and second floor 5 years ago. So we had some extras that we placed in those rooms so that they had somewhere to hang their book bags and their coats. So we'll move them up to the third floor if this alternate can.
So we have,
They can be deconstructed without falling apart.
These ones are brand new and they're not actually drilled to the wall.
and we bought actually really nice ones, like when we did them, so like we wanted them to last as long as humanly possible when we bought them. Cause yeah, you buy the cheap ones,
Yeah, and then.
they go away. All right, so any questions on the alternates?
So just so I'm
Please,
perfectly clear.
yes,
What is in the base bid is absolutely set in stone, cannot be changed.
correct.
It is, that decision was made as to what was an absolute necessity.
And discussed at our facility committee.
And I'm
before we
not-
Went back out.
I'm not, I want to make
Yep.
sure what's up for discussion, and so.
And that was with feedback from our, over the years with our staff at the faculty meetings.
Yeah, so that is, yeah, base bid is, you can't do anything with, right, Jeff? Like, there's no changing what you have for base bid.
Well,
Okay,
You can omit things.
yeah, you can omit things.
you can't add,
If it's pre-award or after award or
Yeah.
post-award, it makes a difference. And you can add stuff after the contracts are signed if you wanted to. You can deduct stuff now and negotiate with the low bidder. They only one bidder that you got for GC.
right,
But you can't materially change the scope of work because then the other bidders would say, hey, I didn't get a chance to bid it.
She,
that time."
she can't swap things out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But basically, it looks like structurally, the internal work, that's the big deal, is being done.
yes,
And that some of the making it pretty is what we're losing. So,
unfortunately, yes.
okay.
At this time.
And that can change, right? There's always possibilities. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute. So let's move on to the next thing, which is money.
Do we still have money on the phone?
Are you still here? She was driving.
I'm here, and I've heard everything. I don't have any questions.
Awesome, thank you. All right. there's only 10 of these, so, sorry, Lisa and I are gonna share and then,
You want to share with her?
I don't do one.
yeah, we can,
Sure.
know this over, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, everything will be better on.
Let's,
There's
so, they're so tiny, it's like, you gotta really.
I didn't bring my glasses anyway, so I don't need it.
So, just really quick, I'm gonna have Lisa kind of just give you the first thing is, the amount of money, so when we say capital project budget, we're talking about how much money that the voters approve that we can spend on the project. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't allocate other money to it. So like, meaning, like, say you always do seal coating Saturday, so instead of, it's like blacktopping or seal coating, and you budget that every year. That doesn't mean that you can't reallocate that budget line for blacktop and not do the blacktop here, right? So it doesn't mean you can't add where you already have budgeted to. It just means that this is the amount of money you have to spend on that capital project. So, and that one, just be very clear on that, is that's the set, and then there's other options that we can look at.
So like the $100,000 that we sort of set aside for projects in there, we could take that and do something.
So we already have $100,000 capital project set for next year, but then the following year, say like signage or one of those things, if we want to do one of these offset projects, you can absolutely do it at the elementary school. So something we missed, flooring or one of those things, then we can absolutely do it as part of that project. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is there's ways here that we can do it. It just doesn't get done the way we want it to. Right? So we just have
That's
to.
part of the big.
Yeah, so we just have to like
Yeah.
pivot and try to figure out how else you still get everything done. Yep. All right.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is take you from left to right, the columns, and try not to look at the overall project budget. Okay,
And try to work really hard at it, so you can see.
all right, so, the bidder who bid on the project, the base bid, which is what we just went over, the base bid, 11.8 million. The alternates
On the very.
on the 11,866,000, that was the total base bid that we received on April 17th. The alternates are going across. One SC totaled 67,250, two SC 322,500, and across. If the far right column is the grand total with all the alternates, came in at 13,593,500. Okay? So that is the total dollar amount that the successful bidders or the bidders are looking for as of April
With
17th.
all alternates, with everything in it, everything we talked about, 13,
Like-
whatever.
Right.
Everything on the list.
Yep.
Everything on the list, yeah.
Okay.
Hey,
So
Frank and Lisa, one question. Do we have the authority to award the base bid to one bidder and the alternates to another?
No.
No.
Okay. Thanks.
And unfortunately, it wouldn't matter anyways, to be very honest with you, after
Okay,
Lisa gets.
all right, yeah, I can't see it, but just so I know. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, good thought though, good question.
Well, if I can interrupt.
Yeah.
You can if the base bid for the GC didn't have any work in one of the alternates, but the plumber did or the HVAC person did, you could award that
So it
alternate.
only depends on the prime, or on who
Right,
the bid was for,
right.
but
I
not
mean,
over.
some alternates only have GC work, some alternates only have site work, some alternates have all 5 trades. In
Right.
costs, you know, like, if you're
Mhm.
redoing a room with air
Yep.
conditioning and lighting and
It's gonna touch.
flooring, and it's all the trades.
So if Jeff has $2 million for us, then we could theoretically.
Well, I think like, one of them he's talking about is, let's say it's just a site work for the field drainage, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
That would be the perfect one. There's nothing else that is on there, so there's no electric, there's no plumbing, there's no anything else, so say Carver came in lower than the other one, then you could easily do for Carver, but that's it, correct?
Correct.
Which, okay.
And I'd like to thank Jeff and Kirsten and Matt for all of your patience and assistance during this and just making sure I didn't miss anything. We've been over this so many times.
And I want to clarify one thing, because I know it can be interesting or kind of funny that I may say, or Lisa may say no, and then Jeff says something else, and then we giggle about it, but the truth is, this is a very complex situation.
It sure is.
And I'm not an expert in everything. That's why we hired UW Marks. And that's why we have all these people. So that's why we're all at the table having the conversation. So I hope everybody respects that.
So the voters approved that 25,276,063, and I feel like I'm the gatekeeper with that number.
And now it's down here
Okay.
at that little
Yeah.
thing down.
Yep, and the little box.
Yep.
That's not a box. So I'm the gatekeeper for that number to make sure it doesn't get overspent. Currently, the transportation facility, we're projecting to spend, because we're not all done, 11.5 million. Okay? So that would leave, if you take that 11.5 and subtract it from the 25, that would leave 13.7 for the elementary school. Is everybody with me? Okay, great.
Lisa, does the 11.5 include your estimate of overages? Like, are you putting a cushion in there?
Yes, Jeff and I are a small cushion. Thank you for your question. Perfect.
We had that conversation today too, so
Yes.
thank you.
How much of a cushion is comfortable? Okay, so we have 13.7 remaining for VES. The base bid was 11.86, which would leave the 1.9 million for incidentals, not for alternates, for incidentals.
So let's talk about that really quick. So you might think, well, we have 13.8, so we can easily award all those bids and be done with it. But incidentals have to be accounted for. So you guys want to make sure that everybody kind of understands that
Sure.
incidental component?
The term incidental is an SED term, that probably not the best term for this conversation, but it's like soft costs. It's your finance costs, your architectural, your construction management, your furniture,
Your testing, your
third-party testing.
insurances,
Everything that's associated with a
Right.
project that's not tied to one of the prime contracts.
correct.
And on average, you usually keep about 20% of your over for your incidentals.
That's not high.
20%, that's basic. We are a little,
1.9 is actually lower.
we're actually projecting a little bit lower for our incidentals, but we believe is okay, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's get back to that 1.9.
Does that make sense for everybody? Yeah.
Yeah.
What did we budget for incidentals when we went out for this?
Well, we budgeted 2.9 and where's 1.5.
2.9 and 1.5.
Yeah.
For transportation
Yeah.
facility.
But again, the estimates were lower.
Right.
And again, for the transportation facility, they came in right on the estimate, so we were hoping that elementary would have been exactly the same thing. So that's what's kind of cutting this change for us, is our estimates were right, everything we had was right, but the bids came in.
So if,
Mm-hmm.
bingo,
3
if,
or 4 years.
Yeah.
yep, if we look at the difference between what was actually budgeted for VES and what we have remaining after we award the base bids, we're short 186,000. But we have, my friend, about $225,000 in contingency that's not spent for the transportation facility. So that would wipe that out. What that does not leave us is any wiggle room for unforeseen conditions when we will open up those walls at the elementary school. Do they contain asbestos? Is there any lead? Even though you can test as much as you want to test, there's always unforeseen conditions in a very old building, especially when you haven't touched it in a while.
Now, there's already money built in for that, but it may not be, Jeff, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, each one of the base bids, the prime contractor's bids have a contingency allowance built into them. The total between all 5 primes are roughly a little over 600,000. But we don't want to touch that until we get the building tore apart and make sure that we're not going to find any surprises that nobody considered. And if we get towards the end of the project, we have a considerable amount of contingency money left over, we can always do some of this other work.
So this budget is going to have to be strictly monitored by all of us.
So good thing is that it doesn't mean that we can't do any of that
Mhm.
work that's there. It just means we can't do any of it now, right? Because if things come up and they happen, it does. Let's say, God forbid, we have a situation where we use all of our contingency money and we still need more money, right? that was something, so I had a little brainstorm idea and I checked with our attorney today. Repair reserves. We have about $277,000 in repair reserves. Now, again, you have to have the board approved, you have to do a public hearing to move that, but let's say that we spent all our money and then all of a sudden we go to the stairs. We know the stairs already have to be done. It's a known repair that we have to do. We have overages on it. That could be something that could possibly fit into the repair reserve that we could be able to use. So there is a little bit of ability there that we could possibly look into and really kind of understand, but that's the Hail Mary aspect of it, if we really needed to.
So let me just
Yeah.
explain my accounting
Yeah.
thing. It would not be adding to that 25.2 million that the voters approved. We would ask for quotes to remediate the stairs, and we would pay them out of district funds versus the capital fund.
And that's the way we meant with it, 25 million
Out of the
and then
repair
the extras
reserve,
on
yeah.
top of it.
So that's the backstop to the backstop of the incident.
Right, and we have
Bingo.
other backstops that we've been planning for and
Yes.
trying to get our heads wrapped around.
Yep.
So we can award the base bid, we just can't do anything else right now. Other things that we can do though, because I do want you to like, know that we're trying to do some other things. So the back storage area. Because we did talk about creating a storage space behind the building, so we're taking back some of the green space right behind the back of the building. So if you look at this one, all of that green is still getting done. So all of that, they're still doing the driveway, they're still doing that back area, and they're still grading it. The only thing they're not doing is putting in the footing and the pre-engineered storage building. So the pre-engineered storage building came in like $350,000, $400,000.
Yeah.
Super high. One thing that I asked that we kind of figured out, and Joe Mayo did some work on this one, is what if we utilized equipment funds that we have, that we already had budgeted, and buy it off, similar like what we did the lights, buy it off state contract. Joe, do you want to share that?
Yes, so I contacted a vendor through Sourcewell, which is one of the municipal shared contracts. The quote for an installed building following the same specifications that was designed by Mosaic came in at $102,000 installed. So I'm meeting with a mason on Monday with the same spec to get a price on putting in a footing and the proper slab to support that building.
And since we already budget equipment money and things like that each year for something we could do, we could utilize that as an offset. It's coming out of our general fund, which we already always budget for those equipment items, and we just earmark it for that, which we haven't yet. And then we can still do some of that work. Same thing with,
That's the, right next to the sinkhole, and it's got the groundhogs that live underneath, right?
no, you're thinking the one that we want to tear down.
Yeah, that's the one that
We want to tear that down. If we can't put the storage shed up,
Right.
that one stays.
This would be right behind, this would be right next to the basketball court.
Yeah.
Between there and the road.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we want to take down that old dilapidated building that's basically, we want to take that down, but
I don't know why.
If
It's
we
going
can,
down on its own.
it truly is. The problem is that we're gonna need that if we can't do this, so that was the
And
other
the
issue.
groundhogs and woodchucks, we have safely trapped and removed to a new location when they have gotten in the garden.
So same thing with this,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I kind of wanted to get to, is again, this area here. And it was Jeff Benzi who actually brought it up today, so send it to Jeff. He's like, yeah, but there's divots and there's holes and it's just gonna get worse. And if we don't do it, what can we do? Well, we already budget every single year for those things, right? We have money this year that we haven't used, and we have money next year that we can budget for blacktopping, milling, and things like that. We can encumber the funds, double it up with next year, and then take care of that issue. So we could mill it, we could blacktop it, we could paint it. You just can't change the whole thing all. Maybe some very minor things, but you can't really do all the other stuff.
Because you have to put the other stuff in through SED.
Jeff,
What's question?
the other stuff, we could do minor altercations, but not major altercations in this area, correct? Alterations.
And if that's the case, if the facilities committee board, whatever, wishes to do that, then we need to develop an RFP, have it hit the streets
Yep.
and get quotes. So we can award it before June 30th, so I can carry over the money.
Yeah, so that's something, so again, it's quick, but again, we're trying to brainstorm these over the past couple of days. Thoughts? This is where we are.
So the blue area that you're talking about?
Yeah.
There was supposed to be blacktop, but wasn't there supposed to be like some green space? Is that what this is?
So no, the
over
blue
here?
area, actually, we're taking away green space.
Okay.
So the blue area is the front of the building. We were gonna take away that little like
Yeah.
jet out that comes out in that little island, take that out, widen that area. And then we were going to.
Widen it with like blacktop.
Yeah, widen it with blacktop, and then create a sidewalk that went all the way around.
On the backside, following the creek.
Yeah.
To get to the new main entrance.
And then do take a
Individual.
little bit of green space back from that area that's next to the river, because where the buses park, it's been kind of eroding.
Right.
So we were gonna take some of that back.
There was
Now-
also some site lighting that was going to be added in the project as well.
Those really old trees that are some dying, that you park right next to.
Yeah, we were gonna take those out.
Bravely.
Those are gonna go as well. But again, we can remove trees on our own. That can be something that we can do, so.
And the space in front of the cafeteria stayed in the base.
All stays in the
That's
base.
it.
Correct.
So I think that's.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the back, we did talk about making more green space from that gravel. That's still coming back.
So we wouldn't lose any parking if we didn't do this alternate. We would maintain the parking that's there, which is typically used for admin right now. However, admin on the base bid would move to the back of the building, so that would open up all those spots for parents that are coming throughout the day, things of that nature, and you'd still maintain the spots on the side of the building in addition to that as well.
You'd still be able to have spots where the buses park now.
Yeah,
Correct.
And all of that gets open, right? So I mean, that really still becomes,
Right.
free game after school hours.
Correct. You just, during school hours, well, during arrival and dismissal, you just want to make sure there's enough space for those buses to go down and make that turn.
I currently have a prevailing wage quote for that kind of work we're talking about,
Uh-huh.
and it's about $4.50 a square foot.
We still have to do
Yes,
so that means I gotta hit the street.
If it's something that the board thinks they would want to like explore. Thoughts?
Wow.
I mean, I think we're all a little disappointed, of course, because we all wanted all these great alternates, but, it's understandable. The budget is what it is. But Lisa, can you say more about what you're talking about with, having to hit the streets and why it
Oh.
can be done?
When I said hit the streets, I meant I better get my bid specifications out. So if the board is interested in doing this as a separate bid, Joe and I will have to work. Hopefully, Kirsten, you'll give us the specifications and Matt, and we can put it out there and get it done to have the board award. It won't be May 12th, it's too late.
No.
So it'll be the June board meeting.
Right.
If it comes in with a reasonable cost, then I can do a purchase order the next day.
and I will do some more
And
research
can
on
we
the
Yeah.
shared
split those
municipal
funds after
contracts.
you have next year?
No, it would be all this year.
Fiscal year.
Yeah, I'd be nervous about doing that this year,
This is the way
especially
they cover it.
given we don't know what
Aren't bid.
adding another bid.
No, I'm gonna disagree respectfully. I think you can always get the cost. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you have to award it. At least the work is done. And if you reject the bid, that's fine. You could go out again in the fall with the same bid and see.
Okay, get the
Yes.
estimate,
Right.
not do the.
But we have it,
Yes,
we get allocated money every year.
When there's,
But, have not done. So that money is for it now. Yeah, so we could use that money.
So that's the only,
Saving the day.
like,
Of the-
thing that we could do with money we have. Like, we couldn't do a floor or a ceiling.
are they asbestos floor tiles?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I mean, the alternates give those values for those different pieces there.
And really this blacktop couldn't be done until most of the project is done anyway.
Right,
And if you didn't want to do the blacktop and you just wanted to keep it as it is, you can do that too. But it's,
But it hurts
That
not
island
to
is
go
stupid.
To find out where it
Right.
is. Well, it takes time for, so.
yeah, I don't
Understood.
think it takes that.
It's
I
not
think
that
we
much.
could have it done next week.
Yeah.
When I said hit the streets.
we did a lot of work in
sent it
what,
out.
3 days.
Yeah.
So-
But Lisa, to encumber the money, you actually have to have
Have it
Yeah.
before June 30th.
the actual
or else-
RFP and
And
everything.
if you
right?
don't want to, then you
Yeah.
just do it like.
RG might have been trying.
Yeah.
RG?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So with this round, with this RFP, do we have the authority to go back to the bidders and ask for their best and final? And if so, have we done that?
It's a different scope. Jeff, I don't know the answer on that one.
No, the bid is the bid. You can't negotiate and give them a second shot.
There's no like second round where you ask all of the people who did bid to
Unless you rejected all the
adjust
bids
their
like we
bid.
did. Unless you rejected all the bids like we did before and rebid it again. It's not an open negotiation where you can go back and forth because of public bidding laws.
And my understanding is if you
No,
rebid.
I don't mean-
So
I don't mean with any particular bidder. I mean, go back to the entire, like the pool of bidders and ask them to review their bid and make their best and final offer.
We'd have to reject all bids and then redo it again.
But to your point, it doesn't mean that we can't give them a copy of this RFP if we put it together. Correct.
Right.
Right,
They can still do that, but it won't be part of the capital project.
right.
If you
And that's
do
what I'm asking about. I'm asking about the capital project. The way that we structured the RFP, do we have the authority to do a second round of, okay, now you're our pool of bidders. Now we're asking you to review your bid and make your best and
No.
final.
You don't have that authority.
No,
And Matt, you were shaking your head too. But
no,
my question was gonna be is, if you do reject all the bids, then you have to change the scope of the
we're
job
not doing
again,
work.
right?
Yeah.
And then the work may not even be able to
Right.
get started.
Right. And then you're gonna push it out again, more tariffs, more changes, more everything. You're not gonna get, I mean, I don't think you're gonna see anything positive coming out of that.
And this time of year, the contractors, their schedules are really filling up for this summer. So I think we're pretty lucky to have gotten the bidders we have gotten. Several bidders are asking, is this project going forward? Because they are looking at other work that they want to secure. And if they get tied up, then they won't come back to bid on this, and you may not get the same competitive level of competition we have so far.
So I think the bigger question is that if the board wants to move forward with offering the base bid and awarding the base bid, that's what we have to have. Like if that's something that we're gonna move forward on, we will then
I
set.
have one more question.
Go ahead, Archie.
Is the low bidder a vendor that we have confidence in?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We've
That's
worked
what comes in my
we've
head.
worked with all 5 of them extensively.
Okay, thank you.
Words.
So do we have to make a motion to
No.
accept the base bid?
No, so we don't do any of that tonight because it's a workshop, so you can't do any of that. So I think that's why I had on the very last, after discussion from the board, set possible date for BOE vote. So the next question is gonna be if we wanna talk about this in award bids, we have to have a board vote. And they have to vet all the bidders, you guys gotta look through everything, there's work that they have to do, which will take about a week, right? Isn't that what we said? Give or take, so we would have to be able to do a possible quorum the following week, so the week of May
5th.
5th to
Could
the,
we not do it at the board meeting?
that extra few days, that's what we asked, is like, if you could wait for the board meeting, those 3 or 4 days, still, the quicker the better, you guys are saying.
Yeah, it's really late right now to get work done, started this summer. Because you gotta figure, it's gonna take time to get the contracts together, the insurances have to be reviewed. The submittals have to go in, they have to be approved, material has to be ordered. It'll be July 1st in no time, so even a week makes a pretty considerable difference.
So when could you guys have what you need?
What are we
What we
looking
need
for
from you.
vote? For us?
When is the earliest we could vote?
May 5th. Or could you guys do before that?
But yeah, that's, because our meeting is May
May
5th.
12th, no, our meeting's May 12th.
12, oh, yeah, that's.
There's not a few microbes in.
Do we think we can do Friday, May 2nd? May
I,
1st?
Yeah, what's that, May 12th?
Still.
We should be on that.
Yeah.
Training at 3:30.
The DOE, it's
We should be able to get a letter out to the district.
vote.
Is it because of budgets?
Yeah,
May
It's just because of,
20th.
is that?
But I think that's why they did it that way.
Oh, because we have to do budget hearing.
So the earliest that you guys could have it, or the time that you think you could have it ready for us to be able to vote on?
We believe we can have a report of the bids to the district by the 28th or 29th. That's Monday or Tuesday next week.
Okay, and then you guys would probably want to review it for 15 minutes or so.
They review it with us and they tell us how it goes, like, it's-
We have had some initial conversations with the contractors. We've not had detailed conversations with the contractors to confirm that they have completed that they're comfortable and complete with their bids. We have to,
We call it de-scoping. We go through the plans and make sure they've got everything that we think they might have missed, just to confirm that they've got a complete scope.
I would say we can
So would the
safely say
30th
the
be
30th would be,
The 30th would be earliest?
Good report to you.
yeah, we'll give some time to debrief with them and
So
talk.
then, do we think May 1st then for a vote?
I can do it first.
Could we do May 30th after we look at it? I mean, we'll give it to us and
Yeah.
The 30th.
we can do the 30th,
You want to do the 30th?
What time are you guys thinking? Afternoon?
whenever you want. I'll do 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night.
I'd have to do
Yeah,
afternoon or
she's
evening.
gotta work.
What time works for you?
To be here,
Yes.
I was 3, absolutely.
Yeah, you don't need 3. RG, could you be in the district building, district building here on the 30th?
I'm looking at my calendar right now. Hang on. I'll tell you.
Go now.
It's windy.
He's got Apple AirPlay.
She's pulled over. She's pulled over, okay.
Safety.
Let's see, on the April 30th,
Yep.
I will be in the state, so yes.
Okay,
That's helpful.
so what if we say,
Five is like the earliest I can.
do you want to say 5:30?
5:30.
5:30? 5:30?
You might be able to make it by then, so.
You,
Sure.
Do
okay,
you want later? This weekend? We can do this later.
5:30.
I mean, but if
5.
there's enough people to vote, I guess that will kind of meet, but it's, yeah, whatever, 5:30 might be doable.
All right, RG 5:30?
I'd prefer 6, but I'll try and make it work.
6, extra 6 is okay.
Yeah, six
Six
with
Six
better
works.
shot of me being there.
All right. The board will vote on the bid on April 30th at 6 PM. That'll be a special meeting. And I'm assuming this is all based on the elementary schools conversations that you've had.
Yeah, all the work that is in the base bid is basically what,
Well, I want to be very clear. We had our conversations with the faculty when we started this.
From the
all
start,
way
oh,
from the
yeah.
very beginning.
It was
From
at
the
the
very
beginning.
beginning.
Yeah,
We did not have conversations with the faculty when we went out for bid the first time, nor did we have conversations with the faculty when we went out the second time. That was done at facilities with the architect and UW Marks. And nor did I have conversations with the faculty and staff as of Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because you didn't even know how bad it was at this point, and neither did I until 10:30 today. So I want to be very clear, the initial conversations were done from 2022 to 2023. But everybody was involved with this.
And that's why,
And by the way, all staff signed up, then the staff, like the music teachers, art teachers, actually, the art teacher actually designed her room.
Yeah, she-
Like, it was
Excited.
amazing how much, so the teachers had a lot of input onto what they were seeing in those spaces.
So my question, that's why I sent the email earlier. I understand all that, but are we going to give them an update?
Of course.
So they know, okay,
Yeah.
like after all this,
Oh, yeah,
just
absolutely.
make
Yeah.
sure everybody knows
so I had a,
what the
Yeah.
base project is.
Well,
so I had a
I can't
meeting
do anything until the board tells me.
Right,
So
right,
that's
right,
the
yeah.
number one. I think anybody else.
on Monday, I gave them an update, just basically on the room changes, because I didn't even have all this information, so happy to meet with them and discuss when it's time.
After we now know where we are, because I didn't even know if you would say, yeah, let's award the bid or not, right? So,
so again, just to be clear, so the decision in terms of what the base was, that decision was made long ago.
well, the original base of all the alternates was made long ago.
Was made long ago.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you create your alternates, essentially you are forecasting ahead of time what is, by labeling it as an alternate,
Right.
you are essentially conceding that it's probably gonna be amongst the first to go
And why
if you're
those,
in this situation.
and why and that was the architect in UW Marks, but then once all the facilities in front of it, they said, what was the most easiest thing to bundle as an alternate, right? Because that was the conversation is, what can you, because there's things that you could not bundle as an alternate. Air conditioning was one, I said, no, we need air conditioning. That was what the big one, but that was, everything else was, how could you easily bundle these things together to make it an alternate or not?
Right, like sometimes you have to get the sunroof when you get the window debugger.
Right.
Just to come together.
And our ability to, with some exceptions that has been mentioned, largely the ability to add to and swap out is simply not permissible due to law, regulation, SCD, et cetera.
I do have a question though. Will the bidders hold their bids for alternates based off of what is there? So that way, if it does come up,
Typically, my past experience is they will. As I expressed concern this morning though, with the threat of tariffs, they may not, because, you know, with every prime contractor, there's subcontractors involved, material suppliers, and they can't speak for them people 6-8 months from now. So I would expect them to hesitate. But in the past, they've done it with no problem. What do you think, Matt?
No, I would agree. If they're willing to hold their price, most of them will hold their price. But with the, you know, tariffs and everything else that are going out, it might be a little harder for them, especially I think there's alternate of doing the flooring and painting. That could be an easy one that could be picked off if the district wanted to, but you know, it's depending if they're willing to hold their price and what the costs are gonna be months down the line.
SCD will also be supportive if you can demonstrate that, although this isn't part of the original award, if we're doing a change order for this work as we move forward, we can say, hey, this is part of the original bid package. Here's the value that it was a part of the bid package. We can say it's still the same. They will say, okay, that's good.
And one thing that they used to consider aidable that really now is changing, and you get everybody clear on this is a sore subject for all of us in this room. So it used to be like if you get new rooms or you're changing rooms, they used to aid those things. So like new cafeteria tables, new tables, it would be aidable. They're no longer aidable. So the only way it is for new construction, then it's now aidable, correct?
Correct,
Then maybe not.
correct.
But so if you're taking our old cafeteria and moving it into a brand new cafeteria, you have tables already, so they're not.
Right.
That has to come out of the cost.
Their take is they already bought it once. Why do we need to buy it again?
Oh,
You
baloney.
can carry it over to the other cafeteria.
So
that's why you
If you buy a table once, it should last for
Oh, yeah,
eternity.
it's.
Understood. Okay, I'm just making sure I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
They aided it once.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to something because it's kind of mind-boggling to me is that, because I'm just not familiar, I guess, with construction contracts, is that there's actually ability for a contractor to change their price based on.
No.
Well, because I'm hearing people say, are they held to their
No,
price?
it's the alternate, since we're not awarding the
Oh,
alternate.
gotcha.
That's all.
Okay.
So like, I'm looking at one of these
I
alternates,
hear
it's
what
like
you're saying.
$70,000.
I missed that part. Okay.
If we go through the contingency and we have $150,000 later, like, ooh, let's go back and pick off the menu. Like, I'm hoping they would
Will it
keep
still
that,
be
but
there?
will it still be
Yeah.
the same on the
Do
menu?
we have the ability to bid those again?
Yes.
If we have more money?
Yes.
All we can mandate
Absolutely.
is that
Yeah.
they hold their price for 45 days.
Yeah.
Right, but we can, it doesn't preclude us from not.
Look at our last
Say,
project.
say
we did.
next spring, if
Right.
you have money left and you say,
Yeah.
oh, let's do this, you put out a bid and.
The same way we did the secure vestibule, right? That was, when we first went out for the first project before I got here, that was within the scope, but that wasn't something they originally did because they didn't have the funds for it. We went out and did a phase 3 and now we have it, right? So like, we took time, but it got there after a period of like years, right? So same idea. We just have to.
You have to
Or-
monitor that
yeah.
budget.
Are there any of these that stand out as not being able to do them reasonably after the work is done? And we have actually, I'm thinking about like the library makerspace. Is that still totally doable on its own after construction is already complete? Or is that one of
The
those things
problem-
where it was easier to do when we were in there doing everything else?
You can. The
While
problem
you're
is,
at it, well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and like,
How does
does
this
that
cost?
impact pricing?
Yeah.
Right, you're doing it as a one-off, like
Gotta
separately.
open the
and
walls
you're
again
not-
and the electrical.
Yeah.
we have to go out and do a bundle of a project. right? Like do the B wing,
No,
you know, and then do the makerspace. And see if it, as long as it doesn't go across our maximum cost.
it sounds like signage and lighting, easy, I'm sure.
Right, we just want to make sure that the maximum cost allowance that we have for the elementary school, we meet that need within the time frame because you don't want to exceed that, because then we're gonna get paid back.
Right.
So how do we ensure that ultimately, whether it's over the course of the next 5 years or whatever, that this gets done in its entirety?
Please do.
And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong. So that's why you have your facilities committee, okay? Which is made up of the board. You have your director of facilities, your superintendent. You take what was not awarded in the scope. You look at your building condition survey, you do your wants, your needs, and you come up with a new plan. Right now that we have, and I'll advocate, because I'm a short timer, tell me goodbye. Now is when you should start looking at a new project. Honestly, you should look at the scope of a new project now, and I know you're not gonna disagree.
We've already
with
done
me,
it.
but
Yeah.
We already
yes,
are.
you should, and that,
We can do.
But we
But
got
you
it,
can
yeah,
As long as
that's
we
what
don't
I'm
exceed maximum
afraid is
cost
gonna
allowance.
happen, and I
So-
don't
I
know.
thought there were aidability.
Maximum cost
considerations.
allowance.
and that's where you
So
have
that-
your financial
But if we haven't
advisor
spent it all
also
at
work
No.
with your
When we have burning
architect.
down again, that can
Yeah.
really help us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you try to set your projects up, so every 5 years, your aid is resetting every 5 years. So if you hit it periodically, and you start
so
planning.
now I'm gonna take you back to the big budget increase this year was for debt service, $1 million. If you do that consistently, like plan now, and say you wanna have a vote in, what's 25, 26, or later in 26, say December of 2026, it can be a small project, right? You can use your capital reserve, and then you can get started on this.
And how do we make
Yes.
sure that taxpayers understand that?
When you roll it.
You
Lots of
have lots
conversation.
of
Well, because I'm
meetings.
thinking, they think they
Yeah.
already,
That's what I'm
voted for this.
thinking.
Yep,
They say,
that they
well,
already
when I
voted.
voted, this is what I voted for. I
Mhm.
did not vote for this very much scaled down version.
Well, which they voted for is everything that we put into it.
And
So
They vote for $1 on the bill. They
That's
don't vote for
right.
a thing.
Right,
And what we
Right.
said, and
But
what
there
we
was a
said
lot
that
I
we
know,
did.
I totally hear
That's
you,
the idea.
but I
The
know.
one thing that we said that we
Yeah.
voted for was the makerspace, and that was the one thing that we did tout was gonna be in there, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But the first project that came in here, I was a community member here, and I was told that there was gonna be a secure vestibule at the elementary school when the budget project went in, and guess what? We're now getting it 10 years later, right? So I know that confusion happened, so we just have to be very clear, but the things that we said we would be putting in, safety, air conditioning, moving the first floor, adding classrooms, doing the cafeteria, outside space, all of those things that we said we were gonna do, they're getting done. Right? So I think we're holding true to that, and I think people have to recognize, and Kathy, you were like, times are different.
Yeah.
That's a key component.
the other thing I'm not sure if you've done here, and Joe can help too. You look at your deferred maintenance and you said painting. There's no reason why the district can't have a painting bid every year. Okay, and I wanna paint this wing of classrooms, put it out to bid. That'll free up your folks. It concentrates on what you're doing. Same thing, just various
Tell you where the-
maintenance things.
Or you can do it by square foot,
Yeah,
and then, you don't have to do it by classroom. Would be the same thing with the paving.
yeah, just like,
And,
yeah,
and Bob, to your point, as far as having two different packages, like one at the middle school and one at the high school, that actually can be beneficial because you could actually release those as two separate bids. You might have the same general contractor, you might get two different general contractors. And actually, I learned that from Jeff West about 10 years ago at a very large project in Mohonasen. So it worked out very well at that time. And so we had two different general contractors and they were both good. And it was also a little bit of competition and it just made for a very interesting project. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
no, that's fine.
No. And over the past 5 years, we've been trying to do more. So the goal is targeting those, right? The tennis courts, the track, what are we doing?
Tennis
How
courts
can we
are
get those
huge.
done? We did those 3 years ago. Like, how do we continually do those things? So where does that stand on the other stuff and how do we continually build it in?
Yeah, you need to have an active facilities committee.
We've been.
Definitely, but involve your architect.
maybe.
RG, do you have any more questions or thoughts that you want to share? Whereas,
No, I'm good. Thank you.
We have a time set.
Bucks.
I didn't hear the question, Frank.
No, just a time. for the
and
30th.
also,
Jeff, are you okay with?
board members, there will be a
As it is?
calendar,
Yeah, I mean,
scheduling
I
things.
know
we all
that I
want the best,
it to
right?
be, right, I understand.
the safety concern is the biggest, finally getting that secure vestibule is huge, and the new kitchen cafeteria is amazing.
Still ugly green floors.
The new one doesn't have three floors.
Gotta buy a Mega Million ticket and win.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no, because then the wealth of the district goes up and we get less aid.
Can't make a donation.
Sorry,
So buy it from your vacation home.
don't claim your address as Voorheesville.
Yeah, this did not go as we wanted. but
Yeah.
we're still
And the air
getting-
conditioning too, Kathy.
No, I know,
That's-
I know,
that's-
I
Yeah.
That
appreciate
happened in Green
Anything
Island.
else?
Did it?
Yes, it did.
Oh, boy.
Is there anything else that needs to be discussed at this meeting? Thank you to everyone.
Yes,
who was
thank you
here.
very much.
Yes, thank
You guys
you.
were
Thank you.
fantastic, all of you, appreciate it. Insight.
Let's discuss this in executive quick to talk about a personnel contractual.
Absolutely nothing.
Just a really quick. executive.
That's fine.
With that,
Thank you. Can I ask Lisa to say? Well, no.
Sure,
You already did.
I reported to exactly.
No, that's you. There's like Kenny.
Need anything?
Oh, I don't know, 'cause that was tails
Yeah.
up. I'm one of those.
I'll leave it there.
There you go.
All in favor?
Archie, I'll give you a
Bye,
call.
everyone. Okay, sounds good. Bye.